Hey everybody, it's Caleb here from Welcome to Adulting. This is a very special episode of Welcome to Adulting because, well, normally I don't do the introductions, but we have a great opportunity today to interview our friend Chris Hogan, who is a two-time best-selling author, including the book. His latest book is Everyday Millionaire: How Ordinary People Built Extraordinary Wealth, and he is also a part of Ramsey Solutions, helping equip and challenge people to take control of their money. Chris, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to this conversation with you all.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Chris. I need to check out that book now. I want to be an everyday millionaire. So yeah. We kind of talked a little bit about this before, but we're kind of talking about basically just talking about saving for retirement, especially getting set up saving for retirement, like that first base for like what that looks like when you are, just starting out. Not too long ago, I actually finally set up an IRA and started setting up stuff for retirement. But before I did that, I had absolutely no idea where to even begin. So I think that one of the first things I wanted to talk about is for the people who have no idea what even to do, who even to ask, where even to go, what is that thing that you would give them? What is the first step for these people who are wanting to set up one of these types of accounts?
Yeah, well, I think the most important thing, especially for millennials and Gen X, Gen Y, for everybody, is to understand retirement's not an age, it's a financial number. And so this is talking about giving you options for the future. So if you have money, you get to decide what you get to do. And so I think the first step in all of this process is to dream. And I don't mean just think about what you want. I really want you to envision it. I tell people you should dream in high definition. I talk about that in my first book, Retire Inspired, because when you envision yourself, not just traveling a little bit, but when you envision yourself in Alaska, with your spouse or with your grandkids, it becomes a little bit more clear. And so once you dream in HD, then I want you to decide. And that means decide that it's possible for you to be able to do it. And then I want you to get connected with an investment professional. This is someone that'll be able to kind of guide you to help you understand. There's so many terms out in the financial world that you want to guide, someone to be able to help you understand what it is, but more importantly, how it works.
Yeah. How do you find one of those investment professionals? Where do you go to even start looking for someone like that?
Yeah. Well, the first thing, let me tell you the qualities you want to look for. You want to look for someone that has the heart of a teacher. All right. Now, we've all been around people that are salesmen, the slimy kind, the ones that are just trying to get you to buy stuff. They don't really care about you. They just want you to do it. And you can think of the typical places you bump into those people. We don't want that. We want someone that has the heart of a teacher. That means they want to guide you. They want to help you understand and make decisions to help you. And so you can connect with those through family members. You might ask your parents or an uncle or a friend who they use. But I also have helped vet a whole team of these all around the country. Now, they don't work for us, but they're connected with us. They're committed to helping people invest the way Dave and I teach. And so if someone's out there and you're looking for someone, you can go to my website, chrishogan360.com, put in your zip code, and it'll find someone in your area. And I tell people, interview the people until you find someone that's the right fit for you.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
So one of my biggest questions, my husband is self-employed and I'm very stay-at-home part-time. So I guess my question is, for someone that is self-employed and doesn't have a company that's either putting away part of your checks or matching, what is your biggest suggestion for self-employed families?
Right. Well, and I used to be a self-employed person myself. The beauty of being self-employed is that you don't have any cap on your income. You can decide how much you want to make and get after it. The big thing is too, though, it's going to require discipline. Because if you are self-employed, it means that you're going to have to take the steps to set up the self-employed plans for you, or a solo 401k. So there are still things out there that you can use to be able to save for your future. Connecting with that investment professional can help you set it up, but you'll have to be the person that's actually depositing the money in. like with a 401k or a 403b. And real quick, if you would, allow me to explain those. Okay, we hear them all the time, and I want people to understand it. So a 401k, what is it? Well, if we were to go to the IRS and we went inside the IRS tax code and we went to section 401 item K, right? You know what it says? Employers can help their employees save for retirement. That's all a 401k is. A 403b is a nonprofit, a hospital, or a school. It allows them to be able to save. And so, again, being self-employed, you want to get connected with an investment professional, set up those accounts, but be disciplined enough to make the deposits inside of that monthly or quarterly.
Okay, awesome.
And for me, you talked about the number goal for retirement, or the HD vision of a retirement number. I was told recently, as I was setting up my retirement, that I'm on pace to retire at 93. So you're saying that age is not really the way to look at your retirement?
Not at all. And we need to talk about whoever told you that. That's not a plan. Right. But no, I want people, a lot of times people will say, hey, I want to retire by this age. And I think that's a great thing, to be able to have a goal. I'm real big on goal setting. And I think you got to have a target to be able to aim for it. And you need a scoreboard to find out, am I on track, or am I ahead or behind? But I also want people to be able to identify not only the age, but more importantly, the number. Because the number is what matters. When you have enough money put aside, you begin to have options to do the things that you want to do, which means you don't have to work. Or if you choose to work, you're working on your terms. So I think it's really important. And I'm helping people with this. I've got a free tool at my website. It's called the RIQ, the Retire Inspired Quotient. And what it does is it helps people kind of identify their dreams of what do they want to do. People will tell me they want to travel, or they want to spend time with their spouse, or spend time with their family members, or go on a mission trip. They say all these different things. I want to help people zero in on what that is. Get on the same page with your spouse and understand what your spouse wants to do. But more importantly, identify how much are we going to need to do this? And so the RIQ is a free tool. It's at my website, chrishogan360.com. People can begin to throw in some numbers and get a feel for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people make as they start to save for retirement? As they start to put money away, are there any things that people should be aware of and try to avoid?
Well, you know what? It's interesting you bring that up. And there are some pitfalls that I see. When people are starting to plan for retirement, some mistakes that they make is they end up using the retirement funds as an emergency fund, which means they'll go in and grab money out of it to pay for a wedding or pay for a trip or a home down payment. And you don't want to do that, because we don't want to stop money from growing. The beauty of compound interest is that it's not just the money is growing, but the interest is growing. So I call it compound growth all the way around. So we don't ever want to stop that growth from happening. The second is they're not consistent in their investing. That's why I love automated. I love the 401ks and 403bs, where the money automatically comes out of your paycheck with your employer. So there's nothing that you have to do. You just have to leave it alone and make sure it's invested right.
Kind of bounce off of that. Let's say you've hit retirement. What are the biggest mistakes that you see people do with that retirement money they've set aside then, after you've already reached that point of retirement?
Right. Well, once people retire, some mistakes that I'm hearing and I've seen over the years is, number one, not continuing to budget. Listen, budgeting is where you tell your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. And so that's how you're going to be able to be very intentional in making sure, as I advise, to invest 15% of your household income toward retirement. And so budgeting is crucial. It helps you get to retirement, but it also helps you stay there. Because think about it. When you're retired, you've got more free time than you've ever had. Well, let's think about this. All right, you three, I'm going to poll you. Watch this. What days of the week do you all spend the most money?
Friday and Saturday.
Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
Yep. Weekend.
Why? Because we have more time. And so if you think about it, retirement can be the ultimate weekend. So it's important for us to have budgets and spending limits on the front end, so you don't get to retirement and have to go back. So I think the budgeting is important. And then another thing that I see people make, not continuing to grow the money, which means you don't want to stop investing. The goal of investing is to outgrow inflation, right? And that's another $10 word. What is the inflation? It just means the cost of living is going up each and every year, and it hovers between 2 and 3%. So if we just throw money in a savings account, that money isn't working for you. It's kind of kicked up in a hammock and just hanging out at like 0.25%. We need it to actually be working for you, and that means investing it. So I think those two things are huge. Getting on a budget, staying on one, being intentional about continuing to grow your money.
Can I just say real quick, I've known this is important, but you are a motivational speaker, and I am so excited to buy that. I'm excited for my husband to hear this. Like, this is great.
I appreciate it. I've got passion for this just because I've seen over the years what happens when people get the right information and make a decision. Mm-hmm. I've bumped into single moms. I'm a product of a single mom. And when, I had a lady, I'll never forget this. I was doing a book signing in Denver. I just released Retire Inspired, and I'm standing there. This lady waits for 20 minutes to get up to the line to me. And she gets up there and I go, ma'am, how can I help you? I said, can I sign your book? She goes, nope. I said, do you want to take a picture? She says, nope. She had stood in line with her son for 20 minutes. And I said, well, honey, how can I help you? And she goes, I waited in line with my son because I wanted to look at you to tell you this. The cycle ends here.
Wow.
And she walked off. Now, I have to tell you something. It took a few minutes for that to set in. But I remember that moment where that woman looked me dead in my eyes and said, the cycle ends here. And what she was doing was making a statement about her legacy. That she, despite her past mistakes, she was going to move forward more clear and more focused for the sake of her son than she ever had before. And that was one of those things where I went, I'm so grateful I get to do this. Mm-hmm. I'm so grateful I get to give people information to help them chase down their dreams.
Kind of bouncing off of the cycle ends here. One question, some people are older in age and don't even know where to start with retirement, and they might feel that it's too late. Is there ever a too late to start retirement planning?
Well, I tell you, I bump into people all across the country that feel that way. They've made some mistakes with money, or maybe they didn't get started. And you know what? Hindsight is 20/20 for all of us. But I tell people it's okay to glance back, but we need to focus forward. And so it is absolutely never too late to get started. It is absolutely never too late. You've got an opportunity to not only get started, but you can go faster, further with the right information and the right people in your corner.
That's awesome. Do we have time for a couple more questions, or are we? All right, awesome. So I think we kind of touched on budgeting a little bit before, but I want to kind of go back and talk about that a little bit more, because for me, getting started, like the biggest thing that is still tough for me is like I am putting some money into my retirement, but not as much as I'd like to be. And the biggest thing is just like it's tough for me to save money for later when I also want to make sure that I can eat now, And so like saving, how do you kind of begin to work out that budget so that you still obviously are able to, live, comfortably now, but also save for later on as well.
Right. No, and that's a very good point. I was on doing my radio show, the Chris Hogan show, the other day, and one of the callers called in, and he was like, listen, Chris, it's like YOLO. And I was like, what? What are you talking about, YOLO? I knew what he meant, but I wanted him to explain it. And he goes, you only live once. And, I was explaining the importance of you can live in the day without living for the day. And what I mean by that is being very intentional. Budgeting will help you kind of begin to look and understand, where's my money coming from, how much is coming in and how much is going out. But it obeys. Like, I don't think people understand. Like, if you tell money to sit, it'll sit. Like, if you tell it to stay, it'll stay. But we have to give it more direction. And so the best thing to do is to budget. And before you even start to try to invest, I'm advising people to get out of debt. I want you to attack your debt smallest to biggest and get that debt out of your life. You get out of debt, you give yourself a raise. And typically, people are spending 35% of their income on consumer debt. 35%. So if you get yourself out of debt, and I'm only wanting you to invest 15%, it leaves margin for you to be able to have a life.
Yeah, I know that all of us here have taken Financial Peace or are very familiar with Financial Peace.
Yeah.
And when would you say during the snowball effect of getting out of debt, is there still time to put money into retirement during that time, or should we just focus on getting rid of the debt?
Well, you know what? That's what I think is the problem with our society. It was for me before I bumped into Dave and got into Financial Peace. I was trying to do 9 things at once. And when you do 9 things at once, you're ineffective in most all of them. And so I advise people to do what we call be gazelle intense. And that means I want you to pause investing for a little while. just a little bit. And I want you to really get focused on the debt snowball. Now, let me explain this real quick, because your new listeners and viewers may not know what this debt snowball is. They may think I'm talking about some kind of, ski trip or something. No, here's the deal. With the debt snowball, you're going to list your debt smallest to biggest, because getting out of debt's not about the interest rate. It's about momentum. And so when you attack that little one, you start to believe, I can do this. And so what I want you to do is make minimum payments on all the debt, except for the smallest one. I want you to throw all extra money at that little one. And once you attack it, take what you were paying on the little one and go down to the next one in order. And what you'll find is, it depends on how much debt you have, but typically people are able to do that between 18 to 24 months. Now, I know we live in this age of student loan debt, and those can be a little bit bigger, but being intentional and being focused, I'd rather you focus on getting out of debt. Then once you do that, I want you to build up a fully funded emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. Then after you do that, then you can start to invest 15%.
All right.
Yeah, so this is all outlined in the baby steps. And the beauty of it is that for the first time ever, we're offering a free trial of Financial Peace University, so people can get plugged in and listen to Dave Ramsey, Rachel Cruz, and myself teach this information for free. All they have to do is go to daveramsey.com/hope. Again, that's daveramsey.com/hope, and sign up and get started today.
Awesome.
Well, Shauna, we're like 5 minutes away from the Zoom ending. Do you want to wrap up for us, Shauna?
Yeah. Just to be mindful of your time, we are so thankful that you were able to meet with us. In this past 15 minutes, have learned so much more than I already knew. I'm excited to visit those websites, to purchase your book and just read through that with my husband. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of like fired up now to think of retirement as a number, not an age. That is awesome.
Thank you very, very much. And that's the thing I want young people to start to hear and understand, that retirement's not an old person thing. Retirement's a smart person thing. And I was fortunate enough, because one of my mentors advised me to get started at 21 years old saving for retirement. And so I'm very grateful for that information and that knowledge. And so if we can reach some people out there to let them know it's never too late, but also to help them jumpstart and get started, we're going to help change the face of this country. And when people have more money, they can be more charitable and more giving to causes.
Thank you, Chris. And your Twitter is Chris Hogan 360, and your Facebook is Chris Hogan 360, correct?
Yeah, it's pretty consistent all the way around. And so if people want to get more information, they can go to chrishogan360.com.
Thank you so much, Chris. We really appreciate this time and all the wisdom that you shared with us today. We'd love to have you back on another time.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I look forward to talking to you guys again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye now.